Dear friends, I am very, very upset. I am reading the decision from the High Court of Justice, Queen's Bench Division. Britain has now decided they can extradite Julian Assange. Julian Assange is the most important journalist in the world who has disclosed war crimes. And now the criminal government of the United States has been granted permission to extradite Julian Assange from the Belmarsh security prison in London. So they're going to send him to America to an uncertain future. I say shame on Britain. Shame on the British court system. Shame on America. Shame on Donald Trump, who never pardoned Julian Assange. Mr. Trump, you would never have been president if Julian Assange didn't disclose the crimes of Hillary Clinton. You could have pardoned Julian Assange, and you chose not to. And today it is especially upsetting that the decision of the Queen's Court, of Queen Elizabeth's courts, and since it's your court, Queen Elizabeth, I say shame on you, Queen Elizabeth. I mean, this is so upsetting. I mean, if you read mainstream media, we in the West are world champions for freedom of speech. We care about human rights. We have, for instance, the Helsinki Committee for Human Rights. And we are so good. And we have the bad Russians and all the other guys. And today, we're giving the Nobel Peace Prize. You see, I made a t-shirt for myself. I made a t-shirt. Free Julian Assange. Shame on the Norwegian Nobel Committee. Shame on the Norwegian Nobel Committee. That has been appointed by the Norwegian government to give the Nobel Peace Prize to those who deserve it, to work for peace. And today, December 10, the same day as this shameful decision from the British court, Norwegians, they put on their tuxedos and their nice gala dresses and everything and pretend to work for peace. Okay, I mean, these journalists, Dmitry Muratov, these Russian journalists, and this Maria something, these Filipino journalists, I'm sure they're okay. But I mean, compared to Julian Assange, they're insignificant. Insignificant. If anyone should have received the Nobel Peace Prize, it is Julian Assange, for preventing the warmongers in America, for creating a consciousness among Americans that we should not make wars. I mean, I'm so upset. In the Nobel Committee, there are 5 members appointed by the Norwegian Parliament. And Julian Assange was nominated, together with Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning. I mean, there's some things about Chelsea Manning now. I mean, she's kind of stabbing her own allies like Glenn Greenwald and stuff in the back. But what he did, I'll call him. Bradley at Chelsea, I mean, no. He's a man. Bradley is a man. I mean, what he did for the Iraq war to disclose the war crimes of the Americans in Iraq. It was excellent. But now we're giving the Nobel Peace Prize to some, I don't know, let's make enemies of Russia. Russia, they're the big bad guys. I really don't know what to say. It is very, very upsetting. There is such hypocrisy. There is such hypocrisy from the Western powers when we're speaking about freedom of speech. And we're not respecting freedom of speech and human rights. Yeah, I mean, we have the Norwegian Prime Minister, Jonas Gahr Støre. He's been supporting this, and he's pretending to support freedom of speech. But I remember very, very clearly his behavior from 2006. This was the time of the Muhammad caricatures. You remember those? Some cartoonists in the Danish newspaper Jyllands-Posten could not illustrate a children's book because they are drawing the so-called Prophet Muhammad. Remember that? This was a crazy story. And while the Danish government, they had an okay point of view supporting freedom of speech, the Norwegian Prime Minister, or he was Foreign Minister at that time, Jonas Gahr Støre, he pushed a small Christian newspaper ahead of him, Dagen Magasinet, where my friend Vebjørn Selbøk was the editor-in-chief. He says, "Oh, don't worry, Muslim world, we're going to appease you. I mean, freedom of speech is not really that important." I'm paraphrasing, of course. I mean, in Norway, it's only this small, insignificant Norwegian newspaper who published caricatures. And other newspapers didn't. Of course they did. But then this coward, Jonas Gahr Støre, he pretended that it was only one small newspaper. And in that way he endangered the life of Vebjørn Selbøk and his family. He received death threats in his mail. And it's terrible when the Prime Minister, or at this point the Foreign Minister, stabs this editor in the back with a dull knife. I mean, Norway is probably better than many other countries when it comes to freedom of speech. But as of this moment, your friend Kristian, this is me speaking, Kristian, I am now officially a suspect in a criminal case. I have been conducting police interrogation, for allegedly offending the feelings of a high-ranking journalist in the Norwegian Broadcasting Corporation, the public broadcaster, like the Norwegian equivalent of the BBC, or SVT in Sweden, or RTS in Norway, or in Serbia. And I don't know. I mean, of course I'm not guilty of this, but the case is with this Tariq Alisub. He came from Palestine in 2001, and now he works as a news presenter for NRK. And my clear opinion is that if you're going to present news on the national most important and most powerful news medium in Norway, you must speak fluent Norwegian. And 3.5 years ago, in March 2018, I called him because I wanted to write an op-ed for Norwegian media. How could I employ a journalist who's presenting news in a broken Norwegian? I mean, I think my Serbian is better than his Norwegian. But I mean, this is so terrible. And I mean, I never wrote this op-ed. But I mean, this Alisub, he sends me an SMS. Oh, he says, now I know why you want to write this. You are hostile to Muslims. Nope, nope, nope. I am not hostile to Muslims. I love Muslims because most victims of Islam, they're Muslims. I mean, I can sit down and I have my nice Quran that I was given to by a Norwegian imam, and we sat down and we spoke about faith and Islam. We need dialogue. But then I think that this book, I mean, it's pure evil. I mean, the so-called Prophet Muhammad, he had sex with a 9-year-old girl. He married Aisha when she was 6 and had sex with her when she was 9. You see, so of course he's wrong about that. But I mean, this journalist, I guess he has a need to feel like a victim. That Norwegians are racist, and the reason for the criticism of the language is that they don't like foreigners. Of course not. I mean, skilled foreigners can work in NRK and be news presenters, of course. My complaint was he's very poor Norwegian. But what happened in March or in May when he allegedly received an anonymous letter? He and the NRK filed criminal charges against the person who wrote this anonymous letter, criticizing his language. My name wasn't mentioned at that time, but my name has been implicated because of Tariq Alisub. And I couldn't possibly have written this letter because I was a lot on TV in Belgrade at that time. So it couldn't have been possible. So I have now filed criminal charges against the Norwegian police for conducting a politically motivated investigation, which is very, very bad. I have filed the criminal complaints against the NRK for abusing their media power and filing criminal charges when they should have supported freedom of speech. I mean, this is blatant power abuse. And lastly, okay, I'll do it with a Serbian way here. Serbian way with 3 fingers like this, or it's like this really, but I'll do it like this. Thirdly, I have filed criminal charges against Mr. Alisub, because maybe this is the Norwegian equivalent of Jesse Smollett. Remember this guy in America, in Chicago? He complained that Trump supporters had attacked him. But then it was all staged, and now everything is collapsing in CNN. Like Lemon in CNN, he might lose his job because he's been supporting them. Cackling Kamala Harris, she has got very, very big problems explaining herself. Why she supported Justice Smollett. But I think there is a fair possibility that Mr. Alisub sent the letter to himself. When I'm seeing how he's able to and willing to use straw man arguments, I mean, we have to ask that question. There's also another suspect, I know, and of course he hasn't written any letter. And when I'm doing something, I never do it anonymously. I do everything with my full name. So I have filed criminal charges against him also. And if you do understand Norwegian, there is in the description below, there is a link to my phone call with Mr. Alisub. Actually, I called him and asked him directly, did you commit perjury to the police? Did you give a false statement? Did you lie to the Norwegian police? Of course, he's very, very upset because of this. Of course. But I mean, I'm not saying legally, charging him legally that he did it. I'm saying that the Norwegian police need to investigate and interrogate him like they interrogated me. I mean, now the police has dismissed their charges against me, but they discharged me because of lack of evidence. And I complained to the district attorney, to the prosecutor in Norway, because I do not accept this. I want to be acquitted, the case dismissed, no crime committed. That's the only way I accept. I mean, these NRK guys, they picked a fight with me. Well, I'm fighting back. Simple as that. Simple as that. And we'll see how the Norwegian court system will react. But I mean, it is also very, very good to be a Christian. To be this Kristian Kars. My life is good. I have employed 2 communication assistants that will help me tremendously. It is good. You see, I have no hair. I shaved my head. I have little hair on my top. But I feel no older than 30 years old. Never in my life have I had so much energy, so much creativity. So it's good. So everyone, you who are watching this, I have to tell you that I will celebrate my 50th birthday on February 2nd in Belgrade. Yep, you are welcome to come here and we'll have a very, very good party. My mom and my brother will come and we'll have brown cheese. Remember, I'm going to be the brown cheese ambassador in Serbia. Norwegian delicious brown cheese. And my mom is coming and she's making her delicious bread. Horn and julebrød. Julebrød. This delicious white bread with raisins and good stuff inside. And we're going to serve it with brown cheese and we're going to enjoy. But I have to admit, my mom is a bit terrified at the moment. Because I hope to bring her on Serbian TV. To meet maybe Milomir Maric, TV host, and maybe some other channels as well. To invite all of Serbia for my birthday. Well, why not celebrate when you're 50? I'm going to live for at least 50 more years. And I hope to see you who are watching. I hope to see you in Belgrade. Life is good. Life is good, but I mean, remember Julian Assange in your prayers. And shame on everyone. Shame on everyone who have been responsible for undermining freedom of speech. This is Kristian Kars. Thank you.